FM News 101, KXL.
And we have breaking news on the Lars Larson Show. I'm going to use the phrase because I know none of my television friends will have the guts to say it, but politics does make for strange bedfellows. And I know they're going to stay away from that phrase in any of their reporting of the bizarre events of the last couple of days, with Governor John Kitzhaber now appearing to dig in his heels as members of his own party, the House Speaker, the Senate President, demanding his resignation. And all of this, and the governor digging in his heels and apparently preparing for a legal battle over the alleged criminal activity of the governor and his girlfriend, Cylvia Hayes, and now his resignation, his refusal to submit a resignation, only 24 hours after he was planning to submit a resignation just yesterday. And now with the latest breaking news on this, speaking of strange bedfellows, I am welcoming to the program Nigel Jaquiss, who is a regular guest on the show from the Pulitzer Prize-winning alternative weekly newspaper known as Willamette Week, which has broken all of the big stories on most of the governors of the last 30 years or so. Nigel Jaquiss is with me right now. He's in the studio back in Portland. I'm down in Sacramento. And Sheila Hamilton. Sheila and I could not be more different politically, but we are professional colleagues, and we love working together. Sheila and Nigel, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Lars. This is as big a story as I've heard in Governor Kitzhaber's term. This is very, very devastating for him because Kink FM and Willamette Week have learned that last week his office requested state officials to destroy thousands of records in the governor's personal email accounts. Now, the records show the request to destroy Kitzhaber's emails came from Jan Murdoch, Kitzhaber's executive assistant. She wanted all the emails from Kitzhaber's personal email accounts removed from the state servers. And that request from Murdoch was described in a February 5th email that said, quote, "Governor's office wants anything that is in the email account, Kitzhaber account, removed from the archive." Nigel joins me just to talk about the severity of this claim.
Well, I think what's different here, Sheila, is that in the past several weeks, Governor Kitzhaber has either claimed ignorance of what happened or refused to answer our questions. And now what we see is that he affirmatively tried to destroy thousands of records that could be both relevant to what reporters want to know, but more importantly, to criminal investigations that are pending.
Lars, also the request from Kitzhaber's office to destroy these emails came just one day before the Oregon Department of Justice opened that criminal investigation into the allegations against him and Hayes. At the time that Kitzhaber's office requests those emails to be destroyed, the governor and Hayes, of course, were facing that pending Oregon Ethics Commission investigation. And so the timing of this is very suspect.
Wow. I mean, this is an enormous story, and I want people to understand the full import of this. Let me go first to Nigel. Nigel, you and I both deal with public records law a lot, and both of us have for years. Ordinary public records law says that every single form of recording, writing on a piece of paper, recording something on a piece of audio tape or a computer disk, or taking a photograph, all of those public records, if they are owned, used, or retained by any government agency in Oregon, are arguably public records and subject to release with a few notable exceptions involving sexual crimes and children. So ordinarily, it is illegal to destroy public documents. But there are no real tough penalties in the public records laws about destroying public records. But this kind of request from a governor or from his staff to destroy public records, I want people to understand just how serious this kind of matter is.
Well, it's serious on two fronts. You've referred to the public records law, which does apply here. Many media organizations, including Willamette Week, Kink, and the Oregonian and others, had asked for the governor's emails. In fact, on February 2nd, the Oregonian and Willamette Week placed new public records requests for the governor's emails. So this request for destruction came right on the heels of those new requests. Perhaps more seriously, however, there is an FBI investigation pending and an Oregon Department of Justice criminal investigation pending. So not only does this appear to be an attempt to violate the public records law, more importantly, it's an attempt to tamper with or destroy evidence in a criminal case.
And that's where I was going with it second, because if I remember the laws correctly, I'm not a lawyer, as I point out to people, but destroying evidence or tampering with evidence in a criminal investigation is an Oregon felony crime, is it not?
It certainly can be, and when you're talking about several thousand emails, as we are right here, and the Oregon statute talks about not only is it a crime if there's an investigation pending, it's a crime if you have reason to think that an investigation will soon commence. And as Sheila pointed out at the outset, the request for destruction came on February 5th. The very next day, the governor not only asked to meet personally with Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum, presumably to waive her off investigating, but Rosenblum has subsequently said that was the day she opened a criminal investigation.
And by the way, Sheila, go ahead, Sheila.
I would just also point out, I think one of the most interesting parts of this story, Lars, is that state employees refused to carry out this request to destroy the emails. They knew what was wrong. They knew it might possibly be a crime, and at several layers refused the governor's office request to destroy these. It shows a consciousness of guilt on the part of the governor, the governor's assistant, the governor's office, that they were openly asking for this kind of destruction, knowing that the citizens of Oregon had just been told we were going to have a transparent investigation.
Sheila, that's a great point. I'd like to follow up on it.
Although one small correction, some state employees said we will not carry this out. Some state employees actually tried to aid and abet the governor, correct?
Yeah, let me follow up on that, Lars. I think what Sheila is pointing out, and I'd like people to go to wweek.com and read this story, there were several levels of employees at the Department of Administrative Services. The request from the governor's office went to a fairly low-level employee. It went up through, I think, 4 levels of employees, each of whom basically said, I'm not going to delete those records because I know it's wrong. Now, right. I want to come back to who did something that is wrong. That's the governor's office. Jan Murdoch is Kitzhaber's longtime executive assistant. She's the person that people might know has, taken care of the first couple's dog and their cat and run errands and acted like a personal valet for them. But I can tell you, and you know how state government works, there is no chance that executive assistant made that request without everyone in that office, from Kitzhaber down to the general counsel, knowing she was doing it.
See, and that's the concern I have is that I'm glad to see that there were state employees who said, I am not going to do this. I'm a little concerned that I'm glad that we're fulfilling our job, too, in the Fourth Estate by reporting this, but it bothers me a bit. Has any of this stuff been reported to people other than Sheila or you, Nigel? Have any of them gone to the state police and said, I've been asked to do something illegal?
Well, Not that I'm aware of.
We have no idea of that, Lars. I'd really, this is remarkable because it happened last week. This governor's been under scrutiny for months and months and months, both on this current influence peddling allegation, but even before that on the Cover Oregon matter. So you would think that after at least a year of scrutiny, both from law enforcement, from the media, from civil investigations, that they would be very, very careful. They would understand the importance of preserving records, of not obstructing a criminal investigation. And yet, just last week, this governor sent his staff out there to destroy records that belong to the people of this state.
I'd also
let me bring up.
Lars,
go
just
ahead,
let
Sheila.
me point out, too, that
Sure.
I think it's important people understand the governor may come back and say this was my personal email account, and that doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Personal emails of public officials can be subject to the state's open record laws, and it's been clear throughout his term that he uses his personal email for an awful lot of state business. So it is in the realm of what the public has a right to know, especially with regards to the influence peddling.
Well, yeah, because Nigel and I have had conversations before about the fact that the records law says that if a state official chooses to use his personal email, so he set up a Gmail account, that if he chooses to use that for official business, it makes that email account subject to to definition as a public record. Now, if a public official has an entirely personal email account that he uses to communicate with his friends or his family, then that could stay off limits as long as he never contaminates it by using it for official business. But it sounds like this reminds me a lot of some of the controversies that have gone on at the federal level over Kathleen Sebelius at HHS and the EPA head using private accounts to try to communicate public business so that they can keep it out of the eyes or out
That's
from
correct.
the eyes, away from the eyes of both the public and the press, and that's deeply disturbing.
Lars, let's step back from this news today and look at the big picture. This governor has for 35 years served the people of this state. He's long been known for his independence and, until recently, his integrity. And I think the significance of what we're learning today is that this governor was actively involved in trying to obstruct a criminal investigation, a civil investigation, and the people of this state's right to know what he knew and when he knew it about the influence peddling allegations that have been swirling around his office. So this is a big step.
I agree. You should go to WWeek.com. Sheila Hamilton from Kink, our sister station in Portland, and also Nigel Jaquiss have developed this story together, and I congratulate you on that. So at this point, this is a governor who we've all said might be subject to some criminal penalties for the kinds of influence peddling he allowed Cylvia Hayes to get involved in, and for allowing her to do it out of his office. Now it sounds as though you wonder whether he would have taken the step of tampering with evidence if he didn't know that within those email documents there's evidence of even more wrongdoing that the public isn't aware of yet.
It feels to me like there is consciousness of guilt. I used that line before, but why else does anyone want anything destroyed if there isn't some guilt there? And, this is as difficult a story as I've ever reported because, like a lot of Oregonians, I have deep respect for the governor, but I was waiting for some sort of evidence that clearly tied him to the scandal. This is the smoking gun, Lars. This is it.
Yeah. See, I figured letting his girlfriend operate a private consulting business and peddle influence from within his office would have been his first knowledge of some tie to the scandal. But you and I can debate that on another day. Congratulations to both of you. We'll refer people to WWeek.com for the full version of that story. And thank you both for coming on the air with me today.
All right. Bye, Lars.
You bet. Sheila Hamilton from Kink FM and also Nigel Jaquiss from the Pulitzer Prize-winning Willamette Week. Thank you both. Back in a moment. You're listening to The Lars Larson Show.